Madam Chair, we are go with the stream. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the public meeting of the Northwest Regional ESD Board of Directors for our general session. Board Secretary White, would you please call the roll call?
Yes. Becky Timchuk,
Here.
Christine Riley,
Here.
Dorian Russell,
Here.
Doug Doherty,
Here.
Maris Mantle,
Here.
Maureen Wolf,
Here.
Paul Jarrell,
Here, thank you.
Ernest Stevens,
Here.
and Michelle Graham is absent this evening.
And then is excused. Thank you so much. Do I have a volunteer to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance? Okay. Director Wolf, thank you.
Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. It's been a long day.
Indivisible.
Liberty for all. You guys, my apologies. My sincere apologies. No disrespect intended. And thank you, Dorian. Thought you all were going to join me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you stepping up. Is there anyone that would like to read our land acknowledgement today?
Madam Chair, I can read it.
Thank you.
Indigenous land acknowledgement. We want to acknowledge that we gather as the Northwest Regional ESD on the traditional lands of the Chinook, Clatskanie, Clatsop Nehalem, Kalapuya, Siletz, and Tillamook peoples, past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations.
Thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for being here. I know it's been rainy out there, and we appreciate everyone being safe and joining us tonight for our first virtual meeting of the season. So with that, has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? Are there any additions or revisions?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right, with that, we will start off with the superintendent report.
Okie doke. Well, good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. It is good to see everybody on screen. This is the first of our set of virtual meetings that we will do through the winter months because we are a very large service agency and span 4 counties and a mountain range and right now a lot of rivers. I know that Doug is safe because he's here and Paul is safe because he's here, but their communities have had lots of school delays and closures and a lot of early mornings for school district leadership, and just appreciate that you're safe and that our school leaders are keeping kids foremost in their minds in the morning when these things happen. So last week, excuse me, I caught a little cold last week as I traveled to Colorado for the National AESA or the National ESD Conference. ESDs are called all kinds of things in different states. They're ESAs, they're ISDs, they are BOCES. Here in Oregon, we are ESDs. And so we went to the National ESD Conference. The reason why we went really was, first of all, it's good learning, but also because our communications manager, Tracy Goldner, had won a national award for her work to center the stories of students and the work of our ESD in serving students across our region. She does an amazing job. Tracy is just a fantastic employee. Her dad was a long-time employee here, Richard Goldner, at the ESD. Her mom joined us, and it was just a wonderful and beautiful acknowledgement of Tracy's work and of the work of our staff here at the ESD. I also presented, if I'm going to go, I might as well talk, right? So I also presented along with Stuart Long here, our CIO here at the ESD, along with some of our counterparts at MESD, at Multnomah ESD, so Dr. Paul Coakley and their technology specialist, education technology specialist, Katie Tibbs. We presented on how ESDs are collaborating in our region to help our districts learn and humanize this radical and very new technology, AI. As we know from our own lives, but also here in schools, that kids and teachers alike are using this technology rapidly. And in order for us to do that well and in a way that still centers the student experience, we feel like we have a role to play at the ESD in helping our districts do that well. So that was a really good experience. We had a nice crowd for our presentation. I think the thing that people were most impressed with at this particular conference is how ESDs can actually scale together. Because typically you think of an ESD scaling for its districts, which is our secret sauce, is that we can scale for our small districts, etc. But ESDs don't typically work together in such a way to do things for districts in a larger in a super region, so to speak. And so it was fun to talk about that kind of stuff. And then we are still planning a very large conference in the spring that some of you attended in the past. And one of our critical partners is University of Portland in doing that work. So that is still happening. We also made a pit stop to a district called St. Vrain School District and their innovation center. And this was I visited this center with Stuart and with Adam Whalen and Misty Wharton, who are both working together to scale career-based learning across the region. And St. Vrain School District has always been on my radar. It's been on my radar for a long time. Back when I was the curriculum director in Tigard-Tualatin, the voters in that school district approved a technology bond. And this is before school districts were doing one-to-one technology efforts. And I stole as much as I could from St. Vrain because they really had it going on, and learned a lot and working with them years ago. And so we went to the center, and it was just really invigorating. They have um, multiple career pathways where kids from their 10 high schools come to study things that you really don't see in a K-12 environment typically. So it was a really good visit for us. It got us thinking about our region and the work that we have to do and get to do here to make sure kids, regardless of their zip code, can, for instance, take part in an aerospace program, or fill in the blank. And so it was good learning there as well, and we left invigorated from that experience. Very quickly tonight, I did a lot of writing in this report. I'm not going to go through everything. I do want to let the board know that our strategic plan process is on time, and we are making a lot of progress. We had our last official meeting with our strategic plan design team, which is a group of 20 people from across the ESD that represent all the different job classes, like a classified license administrator, and all of a large swath of our program areas, from early learning to career-based learning to our social emotional learning schools, etc. We are getting our last round of feedback from various groups this week. I'm going to be with the superintendents on Friday of our districts, and they will also study our work and give us some final feedback. And we have an all administrator meeting tomorrow, and our administrators from across the ESD will also give a last round of feedback. I think the plan looks really good. And then at the end of our design team meeting, I asked the group 2 questions and did some consensus building around did the design team feel like they had voice and agency and that their opinions mattered, and we had a unanimous response that people really felt like it was a good process and that they were valued in it. And then asked them about the plan itself and if people felt like we were on the right track. And people are very, very committed and excited about the plan that we have ginned up here. So at our next board meeting, the board will get basically a first reading of the plan, have the board provide us any feedback, and then at the following meeting, which would be in February, we will be asking the board to approve our next strategic plan. So we're on track with that. As the board knows from just being alive and reading the news or watching the TVs or the YouTubes, there is a lot going on politically here in the state of Oregon and of course nationally, from the things happening in our region around immigration enforcement, um, and also just the uh, unfortunate state of our resources in our state, and the impacts of HB1, the so-called big beautiful bill, and its impacts. And so I'm saying all that because at the ESD we used to have government relations position. It was filled by Ozzie Rose. For those of you who know that name, he's a kind of, a giant in Salem. And Ozzie has fully retired, and then we hired David Williams to do that work. And David has since left the ESD, and so I wanted the board to know that we are actually interviewing people tomorrow for a government relations position here at the ESD that will serve us, but also serve our 20 component school districts. So that is something that we talked about this summer as a board, but with Kelsey being on maternity leave, we wanted to wait for her to come back for us to do the full recruitment process because the position will report to Kelsey. So that is on track, and we have some good candidates that we'll be interviewing tomorrow. Another return from maternity leave, Dr. Megan Logan. She's changed her name from McCarter to Logan. She has returned as well. And for the first time since late last school year, we have our full leadership team back in place. So it's a really exciting time for us at the ESD. And she is quickly getting herself reacquainted with all the wonderful work, like our statewide accountability work under SB 141 and supporting a broad set of academic programs. I wrote about this thing called CCPL, Customized Coaching and Professional Learning, here in the report. This is basically a new structure put in place at the state level that they are putting in place at the state level to support districts who are identified as needing improvement within this new accountability system. And you have to be on a vendor list in order for a district in that scenario to select you to be their coach or their improvement support. And I wrote about these 7 areas here in the report that the state has asked vendors to apply to be on the list. The process is going through the Department of Administrative Services, or DAS, and we have applied. We are one of, I think, 4 ESDs, but I'm not exactly sure. There could be 3 ESDs who actually did submit their to be a vendor. If selected, it's just important for the board to know that what it means is we can't supplant. We can't use these funds to pay for stuff we're already doing. So that's just something for us to know. So in other words, if a district selects us to be their early literacy support, we already have an early literacy team. So the kind of services that we would be providing would be above and beyond the kinds of things that we can do with our limited resources right now. So we will find out if we're selected soon, and uh, we will have some time and a little bit of a runway to plan these services, because no districts are going to be in this school improvements status in the first year of the system working. It takes a couple of years of poor performance to be identified that way. However, school districts can select people off the vendor list. Before that, that's a totally voluntary situation. So we'll see how this goes, and we'll see if we are selected to be one of these vendors. Something I'm very proud of, and I know we've talked to the board quite a few times about our ninth grade success program here at the ESD. I'm excited to report, after the state released its summative data from last year, that students in our region um, who are in high schools that participate in our program are on track to graduate at higher clip than students from outside of our region. So that's very exciting. I'm not sure if if board members had time to click on the link that I put in the board report, but you'll see a couple of charts there. And one of the lines that I'm particularly interested in, and so is the board via our values and why we even exist, which is to close gaps for kids and increase access for students. That students who are in underserved populations, which is the state language for kids who are learning English, kids living in poverty, BIPOC students, and migrant students, all kind of wedged together into a single subgroup, so to speak, that our students who are historically underserved are rapidly improving at far greater clip than you would see from across the state. And it's just a testament to the work of our team and of our high school teachers who are partnering together with us to make improvements in their schools. Very quick update, because outdoor school is as the board knows, a big problem in our budget and a very important program to us and to our school districts. As you know, we suffered a very big cut in the last legislative session. Representative Zach Hudson from Multnomah County has committed to a bill, to bringing a bill forward to restore $6 million of funding into that program. If unsuccessful, I want the board and any of our listeners to know that we cannot continue to have the same level of programming that we have this year. We are spending down quite a large portion of our reserve to maintain this program this year, and we cannot do that in perpetuity. And so we are working with Representative Hudson and are hopeful that we can get some of that funding restored. As a reminder, this is not general funding. This program is funded from lottery proceeds and lottery revenues. And so the lottery budget is solid in the state of Oregon. It's not one of the budgets that is on a downward spiral. And so we feel like, of course, we feel like it's a no-brainer. So we'll see, but wanted you to know that that is happening. I did write quite a bit here on the economic forecast. It feels like, last year's news almost. There's nothing significantly different from the last time that I reported to the board. The hole is smaller since the last economic forecast in our general and lottery funds than had first been perceived. So it went from a $400,000 I wish, $400 million dollar budget hole to an $80 million budget hole. We believe that there is enough funding in the rainy day fund at the state level to balance that $80 million without causing any significant damage to that fund. That fund is over $1.2 billion in it right now. And so our position is there should be absolutely zero cuts to the state's education programs. And so, but I do temper that with there is a bigger budget. You know, the whole state budget is beyond the general fund and the lottery, and the federal, the impacts of the federal HR1 bill, the big beautiful bill, are significant. And so there are big holes to fill in the state budget in human services and other areas of the state budget. So we'll see how all that shapes out. And with that, I am happy to take any questions from the board.
Any questions? Not seeing anyone's hand up. But thank you, Superintendent. That was a lot of information, and we'll look forward to following the short session coming up, hearing about our by then we should have a new government affairs person, and so we're looking forward to what the next year brings. So it just seems like every month we have new things that we're dealing with. So I appreciate you and your staff being able to adjust. So, all right, we will move on now to recognition and good news. We always like that. And we're going to talk about the cafe student leaders. Kelsey, do you want to take it away?
Good evening, Chair Temchuk and board members. I'm just doing the transition from the YouTube to the meeting room. So thanks for bearing with me. And Valerie, do we have our folks in Laura in here as well? There they are. Okay. Good evening. So we are recognizing our student hosts from for the last couple of years now. Lawaru's team has been running the Cascade Alliance for Equity Conference, which is a really unique, well-received conference entirely where the presentations and professional development is entirely run by students. It's been in Seaside, it's been in Vernonia, it's been in Hillsborough. I've probably missed one, and the latest one has been in Beaverton. We had 3 phenomenal student hosts. Lawaru said he barely had to do anything, and so it's just really exciting to see the role that students play in offering equity professional development to teachers in our region grow and grow and grow, and outside of our region as well. So with that, Lawaru, I think I'll pass it off to you, and you can introduce these hosts. They did an incredible job setting the scene for other student presenters and just making sure that everyone felt empowered to tell teachers to listen.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Mine is simple. It's we reached out to students to be able to provide all of the professional development for this conference. But in addition to that, being able to have students as hosts is really important. And these 3 students, Hariana, Yara, and Allison, were really hosts of the Cafe Summit, as well as hosts for Beaverton School District and our International School of Beaverton, representing all of those in one move. We connected to be able to give them a little bit of direction and insight about what we were looking for, and they took it from there, made it their own, gathered information, were really responsive to on-the-fly shifts and changes that happen when you're doing a conference. And these young students really stood up. We have a combination of middle and high school students that were co-hosts of this event. And just really excited to be able to have them on my team for the next Cafe Summit. I always have students involved with the planning, and they are part of our planning committee for the next Cafe Summit on April 29th.
Luar, would you introduce Patrick and these amazing students?
Yes, absolutely. So with reason why we were chose the International School of Beaverton is Patrick McCurry has been involved, as well as the principal, in our cafe summits, and said, hey, this is beautiful, this is good work. There's been students from the district involved, and as former equity director and an educational leader at the school, he said, can we please host this? And was very persistent with it. And he also gave an opportunity to us to be able to connect with students, and was a liaison. So we have Allison Lynn, who is a student at the International School of Beaverton. Also, we have Javiana, and we also have Yara. Yara Yusuf is with us on the screen as Shara Nouri. So got the family connection right there. And I will just turn it over to our students to share anything that you'd like about like to share about the experience, or be open to questions.
Hi there. Um, my name's Yara Yusuf. I'm under the screen as my mom's name though, since I'm on her computer. But this whole experience was, first of all, very amazing. I loved the whole thing, and it was really new to me as well. So I was nervous at first, but like the whole like team who was there, all the adults there helped like make me comfortable, and I also had people I knew there. So the experience was really fun. I definitely do it again. And honestly, just like the whole idea of cafe is like really amazing, where students actually get to you know, talk about their experiences, and I find that really beautiful, and I'm just glad that I was able to be a part of this year, and I'm really excited to be a part of the planning committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Allison, and I was one of the co-hosts during the Cafe Summit. And I've been to one Cafe Summit before this, and I was a presenter. And there was also a student like host during the Cafe Summit I went to. And I thought it was really cool how she was able to adapt so quickly to all the situations, because there were like computer malfunctions and other stuff that was happening, and it was like she was able to adapt really quickly to all the situations. And I also thought it was better for me as an experience, because all three of our hosts, we are students at the International School of Beaverton, so we knew like the place better. We were able to tell people, oh, this is the classroom that you're supposed to go to, and like lead them to places. And I feel like that was a little bit easier on our part. And it was also made it less stressful for me, because I knew like adults there, like Mr. McCurry and Mr. Guilford and Dr. Lararu, and other adults that I could talk to if there's anything that I didn't know or I wasn't sure of, when I didn't know like the situation, what to do and stuff.
Thank you. And Allison, you're in your sophomore year, junior year?
Sophomore.
Sophomore year. Excellent, excellent. And then Viana Alvarado Navarra. No, Nava.
Alvarado Nava.
Yeah, Alvarado Nava. Thank you. You're in 8th grade?
Yes.
Okay. And so is Yara. And so what would you like to share?
Well, hosting the cafe for me was an incredible experience. I learned how powerful student voices can be in guiding adults, and I discovered my own ability to lead and hold a room full of educators. Seeing teachers listen, reflect, and respond to students' stories was like inspiring for me, and it made me feel proud that my role helped create a space where honest conversations about equity and belonging could happen. The experience boosted my confidence, deepened my understanding of education and equity, and strengthened my hope for positive change in schools.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Questions from the board? This is my amazing squad of hosts, and looking forward to collaborating with them on the committee. So,
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the board? Get a lot of applause and thumbs up and that sort of thing. Anybody? I will just say, I'll first of all admit to being biased in that I know what a strong school the IB school is, and that we have so many wonderful student leaders there. But what a great experience that you students did. I had the opportunity to be there for a little while, and I was just so impressed with the quality and the how well you work together, and it was just so impressive. What great. And they're just, you would never know that you were eighth graders or sophomores. I mean, you were so professional in the way you handled yourself. But I also have to say, I'm very biased toward Patrick McCurry, that he brings out the best in students. He knows that student voice is important and how important it is to interact with board members, that we hear student voice. And he's always done a great job. And this was, again, another just great job by the students there. So, Dr. Lawaru, thank you for putting it together. And we look forward. I hope all of the board members will be able to at least participate in April. Oh, Ernest, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. To our students, I just wanted to say thank you. You can't see me on the screen, but I'm just very proud of everything that I'm hearing and I'm seeing here. You are the future of this organization, the future of our community, and and I hope that you look at this meeting as an opportunity to engage with the board and to maybe see your own future. Maybe you're on this board one day, right? That's why I just want to say I'm just very proud of the work that I see you doing. This is amazing. Thank you very much.
And even more impressive, a seventh grader, not even an eighth grader. So even more impressive. We're expecting even greater things as you move along with your education. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Chair, if you'll entertain me, normally when we're in person, I get a nice group photo. It's a little hard to get a good one on line, but I'd like to try anyway. Could I get folks to turn their screens on and either make hand motions, or I think a couple of you I've noticed are really good with the reaction button. So anything you want to do to make this fun and make sure we're capturing that we're celebrating you three. I got it. I like the rockets. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. And again, Mr. Guilford, who's the principal, couldn't be on, but was very supportive in this process. And so I wanted to be able to shout him out, as well as Mr. McCurry, for hosting us and also making it really smooth. Their staff really stepped up for supporting our students.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
All right, we'll move on to the next, and that is public comment. Board Secretary White, do we have any public comment tonight?
No, Board Chair, we do not.
Great, thank you. So our next order of business is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
In a second, Chair.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, next order of business, reports and discussions. First order is Regional Workforce Development Programming. Adam, are you with us?
I'm with you, Madam Chair.
Take it away.
All right. Let me get my screen situated. All right, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity for me to provide this update on the early stages of our work of the School Performance and Workforce Development Department. Two personal notes. The first personal note, I'm really excited to be here. The second personal note, I was with Dan in Colorado, and so I'm also a little under the weather, and so I apologize if my voice is a little bit raspy. But tonight's presentation focuses on the foundational structures that we've put in place on how the ESD can support all 20 of our component districts in the career-connected learning space. There's a lot I want to say, and I won't have time to say all of the things I want to say. However, this presentation, I have some built-in kind of hyperlinks and QR codes for the board members that really want to do a deep dive into the process in the work that we're doing. You are more than welcome to access those QR codes and hyperlinks if you want to learn a little bit more. And I'm just going to go off script for a moment if I can. In Oregon, some of the conversations that we're having right now around education, budgets, accountability, a sort of hyper focus on the parts of our system that isn't working. I really want to call out career connected learning and career and technical education as really a bright spot in our system that changes kids' lives. And I feel really fortunate and honored to be able to lead this work on behalf of our agency. You know, I've joked in the past that CTE doesn't hold kids accountable, it holds their attention. It holds their hearts and minds. And so I'm feeling really blessed at the moment to be surrounded by wonderful colleagues, by a wonderful board that's supported. And I just felt in this moment that I wanted to express that to y'all. This is the space that my team gets to live in. It's a privilege to be here. And Valerie, if you don't mind going to the next slide. So our department officially launched on July 1st, 2025 with the mission to integrate experiential learning, career and technical ed, and workforce development into a coherent strategy for our region. As the board knows, we operate in one of the most economically and geographically diverse ESDs in our state. And I have to acknowledge, it's one thing to read that on paper, and I knew that coming in. It's an entirely different experience to be a member of the team and to experience the scale at which Northwest Regional ESD operates. It's a really fun challenge. And I want to acknowledge that. You know, I come from a previous life in an ESD, and in Willamette, we could put something in Salem and everything would be 35 minutes away and it was beautiful. And here we don't have that luxury. So we have to be really thoughtful, methodical, and diligent, especially in the foundation planning stage, because this is a really complex ecosystem. And so we launched our department, and I want to share our mission statement with you all. If you go to the next slide, Valerie. So I didn't just want to share this because I wrote it and I think it's great. But empowering students through innovation, exploration, and experience is something that I really believe in. You know, school is not just coursework. It's experiences, it's meaningful exposure, it's hands-on learning. School offers our kids so many things beyond coursework, and that's where we get to lean into. And I'm really excited about that, creating system structures, services, and programs so that every student can envision their future. Next slide, please. So I wanted to take a moment to talk about the career-connected learning framework in our state. This is a framework that was developed, I think, right around 2018 and 2019, right before the COVID pandemic. And this was a really positive development in our state to develop a kind of continuum of types of learning that kids can engage in with our business and industry partners. I really want to focus and emphasize that this is the continuum. And so when we are in the design phase of building out our services, it's really integral that A, we map them onto this continuum, and B, that we have a really balanced portfolio of offerings for our component districts, because they're all showing up to this conversation in a different space. So this is a lot of the work that we're doing now as we're really kind of reimagining how we're going to support our school districts in the career connected learning space. And everything that we do from this point on will really be mapped to this continuum. And again, like, our goal will not just be awareness, exploration, preparation, but we will have components of services in a really balanced way in all of these quadrants. The other really exciting thing that we're doing with regards to the career connected learning continuum is as we're scaling and as we're building services, it has been awesome to see the consistency that that leadership in this agency has shown to data. And so as part of, imagining what our services can be, we also need to imagine a tracking system, so that when we scale our programs and services, that we're able to report out to our component school districts, that we're able to report out to this board, that a student doing a career kit at a Renko elementary down the road, or a student completing a healthcare interpretation certificate in our soon to be announced OHA approved pathway, that we can track all of that data and that we have a mechanism to communicate with all of our districts and our board and our community about the exceptional work that we're doing. So as we continue to engage with this board on the amazing work that we're going to do, this is a really important component in terms of communication and data and how we're going to scale our services. Next slide, please. So scaling is an essential part of what we do as an ESD. I pinned this quote by Duncan Semester that leads kind of an AESA training really aimed at kind of supporting ESAs and their ability to scale services and never fail at scale. I talk about this ad nauseum. My team probably gets tired of hearing about it at some point, but how we scale and how one thing leads us to another thing that's better, and just getting 1% better each day is a really big part of, of the leadership that I want to bring, and a really big part of the ethos of our department. So we need to align our talent development strategies by county. We need to create consistency and quality of services and scale those out to all 20 of our component school districts. It is a really kind of nuanced space that we occupy as an ESD. It's one part public, one part entrepreneurial, and it's really unique that we partner with districts to offer services. And our ultimate goal is that our services are deliverable to all 4 counties at every high school, every middle school, etc. So just the front end work on how we design systems really strategically, while considering all of the really important county factors, is critical. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going slow, but with a sense of urgency, because we really want to approach this work strategically and scale it appropriately. Next slide, please. So the foundational planning, I'm going to pause at this slide for a while and really kind of talk about the process that we're going through. This is a process that I've helped lead in other regions in the past, and it's a really interesting process. So I have 1 hour with all of our superintendent colleagues at the regional superintendents meeting. We meet again on Friday to accomplish this work. If we don't accomplish everything that we need to accomplish, then I can travel out to their county meetings and we can finish up the work there. But part of the imagining that we're doing, and it really is imagining, is asking superintendents to kind of separate themselves for a moment from their districts. We ask them to separate themselves from the brick and mortar setting that is their high school, their district, and we ask them to dream alongside us a bit. And we ask them to really, truly submit themselves to economic and workforce data. This is a process that I think is, novel for some superintendents, and other superintendents like eat, sleep, and breathe. Like what are the jobs in 2033 that are going to be available to their students in the county? But it is a lot of work. I have a colleague, Misty Wharton, who is the superintendent at Nestucca Valley for 9 years, who is a wonderful addition to our team. And she has been just incredibly useful as we kind of go through this process, that she has that perspective of what it's like to be a superintendent in that room. And she made sure that I said during this presentation that we have a superintendent group right now that's really engaged with this work. They are paying attention, they're doing the work, and the outcome of all of this data work that we're doing, you'll see here in a moment. But it's kind of like the legs of a stool. That's kind of the metaphor that I use. When we're strategically doing the foundational planning work of the CCL services that we want to scale, the first leg is what are the jobs that are going to be available in our community? And those are the primary and secondary workforce sectors that we want to identify. The second leg of that stool is what do kids actually want to do? Like as adults, we have great ideas about what kids need and what kids should do, but really elevating the student voice from each county will be critical to this project because we need to hear directly from kids because kids think about things way differently than we do as adults. And we also need to look about the district capacity in the community context of each county. So with those three legs of the stool, we've effectively kind of built a gap analysis as to what are the spots that the ESD can be in to help our component districts where opportunities don't currently exist. And so I'm going to jump down and I'm going to say, leaning on the power of the ESD, like this is something that I truly believe in. Our school districts have a context that's much different than ours. Our higher ed partners do as well. And there's gaps that need to be addressed. And as ESCs, I truly believe that we can be nimble and innovative to address those gaps, to build systems, structures, and services that don't currently exist. So as part of this work that I'm trying to articulate, I'm a little bit sick, so I might not be doing a great job, but as part of this work, it's really superintendent voices who are at the table now, who are looking at the economic data, they're applying the values from their community. We're going to look at the systems and structures that exist. We're going to hear from kids. We have the gap analysis. At some point, and I promise that it'll come soon, there is a time and space that we need to start making the circle bigger. And we need to really start to engage other community voices, business and industry, et cetera, to really imagine, what are the initiatives that we want to work on? What does a program look like, as a skill center, potentially like in our future? These are all the questions that we need to address. And we will very, very soon start to make our circles a little bit bigger. And I think maybe even include some of y'all in those conversations. And that's really exciting. Next slide, please. So as part of this process, we're trying to be really transparent and communicative in how we're building this vision. So we have developed a Northwest Regional ESD Workforce Superintendent Interactive Notebook. And this is never an approach that I've taken before, and it's awesome. And I got to credit my team with coming up with this concept that, as an ESD, we throw a lot at our component districts. And having done this work once before that resulted in a 40,000 square foot career and technical ed facility in Salem, I can tell you that archiving this part of the process is really, really important because each year we look around and we see new faces. So there's a lot of hours and hours of labor that's going into creating these county profiles, which I'm going to show you here in just a moment. But this is a way that we can be really transparent about the process that we're engaging in. We're hopeful that this tool will be really useful as we bring new members of our cohort up to speed, as we get new superintendents and directors and other educators in our region. And so I just invite the board, if you want to click that link, or if you want to copy that link, if you want to scan that QR code, you will have the ability to actually track everything that we've done September, and it'll continue to live on this link. So if you're curious to hear what we're doing in May, you can re-access this link and actually see the exact work that we're engaged in. But if you go to the next slide, I want to show you as far as we've gotten. Oh, this is a little tricky too, the interactive notebook. If you go back to the slide deck, Valerie, and just go on to the next slide. No. Just close out of that tab. I think it took you to the notebook, which is great too if you want to look at that, but don't click the link and just go to the, yep, thank you. So this is the work that we've done today in the creation of every county having a profile of their primary, secondary, and anchor workforce sectors. This is going to inform the ESD for years to come as we continue to scale and develop our services. It's a really unique environment to be in the workforce development space. Like there are so many things that we can do, but we really want to engage in that co-design process with our school districts to make sure that we're building the programs and systems that they tell us are important. So this is really a unique way to kind of narrow and deepen the scope of the work that we're trying to accomplish. Next slide, please. So what's next? We'll continue to engage in superintendents in the service development space and the co-design space to imagine what's possible in every county and what are the initiatives that they want the ESD to focus on in the workforce sectors that they've identified. And we have a lot of wonderful people that we work with to do this work. There are some amazing partners that we will bring in to help us who have a lot of experience in this space. And so I'm excited for the board to get to know some new folks. And then we've also got an emerging partnership with Echo Northwest and our data team to really make sure that we get the full complement of the suite of data that we need to be fully informed as we develop and scale services. All right. I'm happy to take questions. That is the end of my presentation. And I do want to acknowledge that was a lot of information really fast.
But it was great information. It was exciting information. So thank you, Adam. Are there any questions from the board members?
Chair, I have a quick one.
Yes, thanks, Maureen.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Adam, thank you. That was great. And actually, I think the notebook is wonderful. It'll be really exciting to follow along as you do that work and have that access. So that's really cool. Especially thinking about the 4 counties and kind of the diversity of opportunities and what needs to be created. So kudos to that. So I'm the Echo Northwest. I'm curious, is there an opportunity to learn both ways in that capacity? I feel a lot of the messages from them is the challenges that K-12 is delivering to the economic engine to Oregon. So I'm just curious if there's been any of those exchanges as well.
Vice Chair Wolf, I think we're at the infancy stage of having those conversations, but my short answer would be I certainly hope so. Because as I said earlier, we're doing some amazing things in this space. And there's a lot more I want to say and share in response to your questions, but I am hoping that this will be a partnership that can be illuminating for us as well as them.
Any other?
Madam Chair, Director Doherty has a question.
There you go. Did see your hand,
Thank
Doug.
you.
Go ahead.
No problem. Adam, great presentation. I did a quick snippet of your picture of the website, and I think that's going to be really, really helpful. My question is, after being in a community on the coast for so long, and knowing sort of at least a majority of our students, move out of the area, and looking at your scope, a lot of the scope had to do with local, sort of filling local needs or staying sort of local. Are you also expanding that for the students and staff, looking beyond just what the local county provides?
Yeah, that's an outstanding question. Part of one positive outcome related to that in really facilitating this exercise with the entire region, that we don't just have just the counties complete their profile and they submit it to us and take it, but they share it out with their colleagues. And I think another really positive thing via this notebook, that the superintendents also have access to what their colleagues say are important and what are the sectors that the superintendents at Tillamook can look at what Washington County is doing, right? Because there is a reality that we want to graduate students into living wages, and I think that having this at a regional level and not just at a county level, that there's an opportunity for some county leadership to look outside the counties and see what's available, for example, in Western Washington County. And so that is definitely a consideration. I hope Dr. Paul is going to chime in and help me, because I needed a little bit of help, and he has, because we've talked about this, Paul.
Yeah, I really appreciate the work and the regional approach. And to your point, Doug, I mean, we think about this a lot, at the college part of my day gig that, while we are certainly beholden to residents within our areas that we serve directly. We know that if we want to provide, well, one, Tillamook County, for example, for me, doesn't have enough employment for people that are going to be graduating. Certainly not employment that leads to approaching a living wage. So we have to think more regionally, right? And so I've always struggled with that piece, but I think this really helps me at least look at it from that standpoint because I can see the sort of the North Oregon coast, right? In addition, I can see what's happening, 60 miles away, albeit it's a difficult commute, but once we get over into Washington County. So I think that this is really, really beneficial, to Adam's point for superintendents and other decision makers within these other smaller local areas that we can think more regionally and can begin to think about what's best for our students without worrying about competing with each other per se, right? Because that's not beneficial for our students. So I really appreciate the work, and I for one, as a colleague, really look forward to working with Adam and his team on moving this work forward. I think there's a lot of really, really good work that can come from this. So I appreciate the start into this, and the passion you bring, Adam, is really, really, really appreciated. So thank you for that.
Great. Thank you.
And, I'd just like to add, I had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to spend the day in the Forest Grove and Hillsborough school districts with their superintendents, with some local state legislators. And at Forest Grove High School, many of us have read for years the Viking house that they have built, that's been a part of the Forest Grove. And we went there, and it was so great to hear directly from these students. It's competitive to be able to make the team, to be a part of this Viking house, the skill sets that they get. They were talking about how they would see something in woodworking, and the teachers would let them try to figure out how to, make the scheme and how to put it together. And they were telling us how important math was and what skills they were going to be using with having these housing abilities. And it was their enthusiasm, that it's one of the most important part of their day and why they, are going to complete high school. And it was just so great to see. And then we got to have lunch with the culinary program, and they made a great spaghetti and bread and the whole bit. And what's really exciting with them is they are finding ways that they are now going to have it for sale to the public on Thursdays and Fridays. So they're coming up with the marketing as well as what it takes to put it together and the budgeting. And again, these students were just so enthusiastic when they were telling us what it meant to them. And then the FFA students came in and how they grew the flowers that we had on the flower arrangement. And it's just the kind of thing that we want to see as board members. And then to see it now become a part, really important with the accountability bill. And then that's where my question is, when I am talking to board members in our region, and it's now going to be a metric in the accountability bill, CTE work, you feel bad, because I remember hearing from like Vernonia that said, we think this is a great metric, but we do not feel that we have enough programming to offer our students to be measured on that. So I'm hoping this regional approach is really going to benefit some place like a Vernonia school district.
Yeah, I strongly agree. I'm a big advocate for multiple measures, and we did try to influence that process. Dan with COSA, and other groups, but like multiple measures is really, really important because our districts are not the same. And so I hope, I have not seen the latest version of the post-secondary readiness index, I believe they were calling it. But I'm really hopeful that includes multiple measures for students to demonstrate proficiency.
Well, the State Board of Ed is voting on it tomorrow, so.
We would recommend that the State Board of Ed approves a post-secondary metric, like we've been suggesting. I don't know if you have any influence there, Becky, but that's our recommendation.
All I can do is speak up. That's it. Well, anyway, Adam, great job, and I think it's something that we're all very excited about. And just what a great addition to our team, and good job, Dan, to have that vision of what was needed for our region. So we look forward to getting updates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And can I just say one thing? I know we need to move on here. Adam's done amazing work. What I'm most proud of really is that our superintendents are really leaning in to this effort. There's a lot on a superintendent's plate these days. I mean, it really is quite the time to be a school district leader. But what has been driving people to the table is they want their kids to have options for life and things that are meaningful for them in their curriculum. And I think people are really, really committed. And so we've been talking about it for years, and now Adam's putting into action with Misty and their team. And I just couldn't be more pleased with the level of enthusiasm and engagement in the work. So I think the ceiling is high for this work.
Good job. All right. Our next report and discussion is attendance services. Whitney Wagner.
I'm here. Hello, everybody. Hi. What a perfect opportunity to go right after some career-connected learning, because attendance fits just so perfectly in with like creating relevancy for students and making sure that students are engaged in the work. So Adam, great job. Always appreciate collaborating with you. So hello, Madam Chair Timchuk, members of the board, and Superintendent Goldman. Thanks for the opportunity to provide an overview of attendance services that we offer to our 20 school districts across our region. If we could go to the next slide. My name is Whitney Wagner. I don't know if we've met yet, and I serve as the program administrator for attendance services, along with migrant education programming and our Title III consortium, but today we're just going to be talking about attendance. So I have the honor to work alongside our dedicated attendance services team, Ryan Aguirre, the attendance services lead, Luis Hernandez, he's the attendance advisor out in Forest Grove via the LSP, and Lacey Brown, our administrative support specialist. And go to the next slide. So before delving into the data and the details of our work, I always really appreciate and find it important to calibrate our language and understanding around some terms that you might already be familiar with. So chronic absenteeism and truancy come to mind. So truancy traditionally relies on legal and punitive solutions, emphasizing compliance, and it specifically refers only to unexcused absences. It's also really important to know that in the fall of 2021, Senate Bill 817, if you're not familiar, they removed the Class C violation for truancy in Oregon. In contrast to truancy, our focus here at Northwest Regional is heavily weighted towards chronic absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism includes all absences, excused, unexcused, even suspensions. It is seen as an indicator for concern because it emphasizes the impact of missed days on a student's education. A student is considered chronically absent if they miss 10% or more of the school, which is typically around 18 days. A lot of people will say on average 2 or more days per month. Next slide. So this leads directly into the language that we use in our data analysis. So students are categorized as regular attenders, meaning 90% or more of attendance, and chronically absent, which is 90% or less. These, which means that these two metrics are really the inverse of each other. Our goals are really clear. We want regular attender rates up, we want chronic absenteeism down, and it's important to note that ODE reports on, and my following slides will be reporting on regular attender rates, so we want those to go up. All right, next slide. Nationally, regular attender rates have been trending upward since the 21-22 school year, moving from 72% nationally to 78% in 24-25. However, Oregon continues to really be behind the mark when compared to these national trends. You can go to the next slide. So currently, Oregon sits at 66.5% regular attenders for the 24-25 school year, though that data just came out a few weeks ago. And for Northwest Regional, our region specifically, we sit 2 percentage points higher compared to the average state regular attender rate. But while we saw an improvement for the 23-24 school year, which was great, we did experience a subsequent slide this last year in 24-25. And as a region, we slid 0.8% in regular attendance, while the rest of the state on average actually saw an increase. All right, next slide. So this slide, I added this slide in because I just wanted the you to have access to the regular attender data broken down by district. Apologies that it's super tiny, but so I'm not going to go into detail for that, but I just wanted you to have access to that spanning from pre-pandemic to now. And then there's a link to the actual spreadsheet that I actually used to create this, so in case you wanted to get more into the granular data. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So when we review disaggregated data for our partner districts, we note that the rates are typically curved, with the lowest rates typically appearing in kinder and in 12th grade. So we also see disproportionalities in students on an IEP, students of color, and other historically underserved groups. Unfortunately, this is a common, unfortunately, nationally, but it also gives us an opportunity to curate change ideas to different focal groups when pulling disaggregated data with school teams and district leaders. The connection between attendance and academic success is undeniable. Attendance rates and literacy rates are correlated. Furthermore, chronic absenteeism by the 6th grade is shown to be a leading indicator of students not completing the 12th grade. You can go to the next slide. So now that we have a shared language regarding our attendance services, or regarding attendance in general, I wanted to give and an understanding of where Oregon fits nationally. I'd like to give you an overview of my team's services. So here at Northwest Regional, we are uniquely equipped and ready to assist our component districts to use evidence-based practices and systems to make big gains for student attendance and overall academic achievement. So the next slide, we're just going to kind of go around this circle, is that attendance services is deeply integrated across instructional services, and our larger IST department. So our key collaborations include the ones listed here, and quickly, and I failed to add data and research team before submitting these slides for this evening, but in a few minutes you'll see an example of some of our partnerships. Each of these partnerships emphasize that student attendance is a barometer of how healthy the supports and systems within a building are operating. We wholly believe chronic absenteeism is a symptom of much larger concerns. If a student doesn't feel safe, they're not coming to school. If they don't feel academically supported at the correct level, they're not coming to school. I'm sure you all have experiences or can imagine the range of root causes that lead to chronic absenteeism. There are so many, which makes all of this work really, really complex, and also extremely important. Next slide. So in order to combat this, we provide a range of support categories, starting with school and district team coaching and consultations. We work alongside teams regarding their data practices, meeting structures and cadence, the intervention options, and really this root cause analysis, this best ways to assess their specific students and what they're experiencing, because we also know that their experiences range widely differently from more rural schools or in Beaverton, right? And so we really need to be aware of what the student experience is for them. Next slide. We're also engaging in significant state and national collaboration. So for the last several years, I've been leading the OA-ESD Attendance Collaborative, which is a place where other ESD professionals seek network support regarding attendance work. This year, I've also been asked to serve on the ODE Attendance Advisory Committee for House Bill 3199 and Senate Bill 315. That's starting up next week. We're meeting for our first time next week. And I've also been asked to share our learning at conferences such as Northwest PBIS, Oregon RTII, and COSA conferences. All right, next slide. Professional learning opportunities. These opportunities, they're really offered in person or virtually, and whenever we have the capacity or wherever we can add them in for small teams or entire school buildings, and include training on database decision making, motivational interviewing for attendance improvement. I come from a school counselor background, so I pull a lot of my expertise from that lens, and then also culturally responsive home visits, implementing attendance practices within an MTSS framework. So a wide range of additional training opportunities. All right, next slide. So that's kind of a brief overview of the 4 main components of my team. And we also regularly serve as thought partners for other ESDs and districts outside of our region, especially after we present at a conference. We kind of get this influx of like, hey, can you come and like share some of your knowledge, or can we meet to collaborate a little bit? We believe this work is crucial to the success of our students, and if students are not there, they cannot receive the wisdom, the resources, the experience, and all of that the educators in our region work so tirelessly to curate. All right, next slide. And with my remaining time, I thought it might be a good idea to give you a brief overview of the behavior, attendance, and social emotional systems programming that we put on. So this professional learning series was born out of a collaboration with the ESD's MTSS coach, Lindsay Pratt, and our school safety and prevention specialist, Dr. Neha Herzog. Combining our skill sets and expertise for these trainings really puts together a dream team of experts to provide high quality content and coaching within all 3 tiers of behavior, attendance, and social emotional systems. So attendance is one part of this like larger collaboration, which just feels so meaningful, and we're really proud of it. It's a 3-part series throughout the year, and we offer a coastal and inland option, so typically Seaside and Hillsborough. And we regularly have a wait list for our Hillsborough location, which we think is a good sign that people want to hear what we have to say. Next slide. So to measure the effectiveness of the BASES framework in implementation, we use the BASES MTSS rubric that we created in-house. This tool provides specific data to school and district teams regarding their implementation fidelity. It's essential because it really informs real-time policies and practices. It aids in their school improvement plans. It highlights area of growth. It spotlights successes. It's identifying unintended consequences of policies. It's pretty thorough. And next slide. So I also included these slides just really to simply provide an example of data that we can mirror back to school teams engaging in our work. So this data dashboard can assist in decision making, creating change ideas, etc. All right, next slide. So, and this is, here's an example of an attendance report that I collaborated on with our data and research team, Brian Bain's team, to give monthly updates to districts regarding their longitudinal attendance data. These types of data visualizations did not exist a year ago. So I'm sure you can imagine how impactful updates like this can bring awareness to the student experience for our school leaders and lead to better informed decision making. All right, next slide. And so we've received really positive feedback for the BASES trainings. Educators have described the trainings as engaging, informative, really relevant, the trifecta, if you will, as someone has said. And they appreciate that the sessions built upon one another and offered concrete supports that could be used immediately in their buildings. We are not shying away. We're not big and broad and vague. We're really specific and tangible and giving really useful tools. So participants also really value the connecting of all of the BASES systems together rather than having many different teams working on the same topics independently. All right, you can go to the next slide. So I want to thank you again for the opportunity to share this important work that is happening within our ESD. This overview details the critical work that the attendance services team, focusing on data-driven interventions, comprehensive multi-tiered systems of support to improve student outcomes. We're focused on reversing the slide in regular attender rates observed in 24-25, while also recognizing that the shifts in our school, it really takes time, it takes intentionality. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have regarding the data, collaborations, or some of our directions. So thank you so much for having me again.
Thanks, Whitney. Appreciate it. Any questions from board members? Dorian.
Hi, thanks so much for the presentation. This was really insightful, and I really deeply appreciated your grounding in language, and moving away from more punitive language that only harms folks who are already experiencing marginalizations for why they're not in school. I also really appreciated your slide with the bar graphs that disaggregated based on identity factors like race and household income. In my day job, I run a nonprofit that serves young people experiencing homelessness, and we know, and including in your graph, just how much of a difference we're seeing between folks who come from low-income households versus those who don't. I'm curious if you could speak to some of the specific interventions or strategies that your team is taking with school districts specifically for those students who come from low-income circumstances, or those that are struggling with housing insecurity. We know that has a huge impact on attendance. I see that in my day job, but you work across 4 counties and 20 school districts. So can you tell me a little bit more? Like, I'm really concerned by the slope of that graph in particular on income.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, and for your awareness around the impact that is happening or that is having. The first thing that we typically do especially when we come in and do like some district planning or some school team planning, is educating the school staff on how to take their disaggregated data and understand like where, so they can utilize kind of like where their bright spots are and like where they really need to focus some of their energy. And a lot of them, what they're doing is they're pulling their, which of my students are 90% or below, but they're not pulling groups of students and looking at it in a disaggregated way by grade. Sometimes like I'll pull it by grade even and be like, what's going on with your sixth graders? Right? Like, and they'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. And then all of a sudden we get to bring in the sixth grade team and et cetera. And so that's kind of our first step, is really being able to identify. But your specific question was really about houselessness or housing insecurity and like what to do with our low income. And I think that ensuring that the staff is aware of the multiple barriers around that. Transportation is typically an issue, especially in our rural districts, when if a student misses a bus and their parent is already away at work, what is the backup plan? How do we do that? Having these conversations as a district, so we're looking at transportation plans, we're looking at walk zones, we're looking, right, like we're being aware of some of these unintended consequences. We're ensuring that we are focusing some FTE on family resource liaisons, so that there's abilities to connect students to laundromats and like access to food backpacks. And also I think that something that we tend to do in schools is we kind of create this microcosm of all of these county supports. And what we're hoping to do is really broaden that horizon and really make community-based partners rather than trying to manage it all in-house. And so how can we create those relationships within our communities that really bolster the education system rather than having it all be relying it on the district. Mm-hmm.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from board members? I guess the only comment I'm going to make is, again, a reminder that, trying to overcome these barriers of what are keeping our students, and you've outlined them so well, and it's things we all need to be aware of, but also just aware that Oregon's got one of the shortest school years in the United States as well. So when our students miss days on top of having, we have neighboring states that when students get done, they've gone to school, a year longer. So every day does count. But thank you for that information, because again, absenteeism is going to be talked about a lot because it's going to be a part of the metric in the accountability bill. So it's something that's going to be focused on yet again, and hopefully we'll find some more answers to overcome some of these obstacles for our students.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Madam Chair, and all of the board. Thank you. I appreciate being here.
All right. Our next report is our administrative report. Superintendent?
Yes, Madam Chair. I would just say how when I read through the administrative reports myself this month, just the level of touch we're having with school districts and with partners is pretty impressive. And when like when Adam said, coming up here and trying to understand the scale, it's one thing to read about it and it's another thing to tackle it. It's pretty amazing. I just point the board to, beyond like the amazing report about the STEM collaborative, the place-based collaborative, if you just look at that special education report, the number of trainings, mentorship opportunities with special educators, the work that our staff is doing to support our district educators is quite impressive, and I'm happy to take any questions that the board might have.
Any questions for the superintendent on the administrative report? Just some great reactions. So, oh, Paul.
Thank you. Yeah, just I did notice that too, Dan, about just the amount of interactions, right, and the local touches. You have the ESD serves such a diverse area, and to be able to be out there and know what's going on in these different areas is because it's unique from place to place. So I commend the work that your team's doing in this regard.
Thanks, Paul.
Any other questions or comments? All right, that's our last report. Now we're going to move on to action items. And the first action item is adopt resolution 26-005 for the 2026-27 LSP approval. Superintendent?
Thank you again. Yes, so every year, as the board knows, every year our districts collaborate together with us to determine the scope of programming that we will do with our state school fund. So remember that the ESD has, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but we have so many various and significant revenue sources. For instance, like we think about EIECSE or our Regional Inclusive Services Program, which are fund a very large portion of our staff. That's not what we are talking about when we talk about the local service plan. The local service plan is very specific to our state school fund resources. And then after the Student Success Act, the technical assistance grant that we get, that we receive from the state, is also now wrapped into the local service plan approval process. So we do this every year. Valerie, are there slides to run or? Yeah, there we go. And I am not going to hit all the slides. It's an action item, not a report and discussion. So I do just want to point out a couple of things for the board's knowledge before you are set to take action on the local service plan. So the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Now, this is the most important. Oh, sorry. I was the most important slide. No, next slide. Next slide, please. And keep it rolling. We have the way that our local service plan is structured, which again is by design with our school districts, is we have basically two components to the state school fund resources: our core services or consortium or co-op services, the stuff that we leave together in a pot that we provide to all districts, and then the menu of services, which are basically programs that districts purchase from us with the resources that they get from the state either through the local service plan, or some of our districts spend more money with us than they receive via the local service plan. Next slide. Importantly, we will be taking, after the board hopefully approves this plan, we'll be taking this show on the road. And our school boards, our 20 component school boards, are going to be asked to approve this plan. And it must be approved by March 1st by 2/3 of the component school districts. So 14 school districts must vote affirmatively. And those districts that approve must make up more than 50% of the kids. So I say that because obviously we need to get a lot of school districts to agree. And also we cannot do this plan, we cannot enact this plan without Beaverton and Hillsborough. They make up more than 50% of the students in our region. And so it's very important that our big districts see themselves in this plan, and that the plan is fundamentally um, uh, has fundamental purpose for our small districts who really rely on us for their daily operations. Next slide. So this is how the money's split out. We keep 10%. This 4.5% of the state school fund comes to ESDs. And we are a money generator for the state of Oregon for the education enterprise. So anybody who owns a home knows that they are paying local property tax to their ESD. That all goes into the state school fund, just like your regular school tax on your property tax bill goes to the state and then gets redistributed. We're 4.5%. We keep 10%. And then it's split to ESD regions by enrollment, by ADM, average daily membership for students. We keep 10% for operations, and then the rest of the plan has to be spent on school districts. And as I explained, we have our core services, which is 25%, and then we have menu services, which is 75. Because of Beaverton's and Hillsborough's size, those resources, that's a lot of that's many millions of dollars. They contribute 4% to the core, and only for instructional services. They don't participate in the other parts of our core, and I'll go through that in a moment. Next slide. Next slide. So here's the timeline of events. It's kind of a continuous cycle. It really never ends. Between April and October, we work with our districts in what we call our job alikes, to identify hotspots, program areas that people need more support in, or if we have some programs that are underutilized and people want to see the resources being used differently. So we do that. For instance, Kathy Jensen meets with all of our special ed directors across the region and have these very pointed conversations about ESD services. In November, we have the superintendents approve this plan. And there's a bunch of stuff that I do with superintendents in my own job alike with them, so that we make sure that the plan is something that that will be approved. So in November, the superintendents vote, and we had unanimous support from our 20 school district superintendents for this plan. And here we are in December, asking for our board's approval. As soon as you approve, Valerie works her tail off to get this in front of all the boards by March 1st. And as many of you know, I will be asking you to present with me in some of these cases where districts request presentations. Not all districts request presentations every year. Our large ones typically do, because it is quite a big sum of money. So those of you who represent the Beaverton and Hillsborough boards, you know the drill, and you'll be hopefully working with me to work with the boards. The next slide, please. Okay, so the biggest contention in the plan is always the core, right? It's because it's what people leave their money behind to do. And so the core services is what gets a lot of attention. Like, what are we actually going to get from the ESD when we leave 20%, 25%, or 4% in the large district cases at the ESD? Like I said, Beaverton and Hillsborough participate in our education programs only. So they're not paying into our technology program. They have very large technology shops on their own. They don't need that level of service from us. But the rest of the districts get everything that you see here. They get it for quote unquote free. It's not really free. They're already paying for it by leaving the money at the ESD. You can see here that workforce development has been split out from our instructional services shop. You just heard from Whitney on the BASES program. I talked about ninth grade success earlier. You know, I talk about literacy every time I get a chance. And then you can see Adam's programs over in the far right bottom corner. Next slide, please. And I'm not going to go through the menu of services other than we're just going to flash them so you can see the program areas. So go ahead and just kind of cycle through. We have administration and early learning. The only thing we do in early learning when it comes to the local service plan is evaluations. So school districts are required by law to find, it's called child find, to find students who might be eligible for special education ages birth to 5. So districts contract with us, they pay us to do that work for them. So we have a very large evaluation team run by Karen Dalby. Next. Education programs, this is where things like BASES also live because we braid the services. So people can pay for basically, you get your base level of work from Whitney, but you can also pay for additional re-engagement services where we actually would have staff members who work, like we have somebody in Forest Grove that Whitney mentioned, who works in the district, member of our team who does re-engagement services with families. Next slide. We have a very large special education offering. Next slide. These are additional services that districts can purchase via our technology department. For instance, our school ERP Pro is there. It used to be called iVisions. We run kind of the largest ERP system in the state of Oregon. So we have tons of districts in our region and externally who pay for these services via the ESD. Next. And then lastly, as I said, the Student Success Act, after it was passed, it got wrapped into this process just to make sure that ESD's services are relevant and aligned to district's priorities. Next slide. So you can see a whole bunch of stuff in here. I highlighted the early literacy supports because on the next slide, actually go more forward. These are our value added grant programs. So these are programs that are outside of the LSP scope, but I do want to take an opportunity when we go out to talk to districts and school boards that we bring so much more than just the local service plan into their school districts. So we have a ton of other programs, like we always talk about EIECSE or Regional Inclusive Services are here, and you can see just the wide array of different grants that we've been able to bring in to our region. The things that are highlighted, including that early literacy highlight from a few slides ago, are areas that are in, I would call, budget jeopardy. So when the state put out its tiered budget reduction plan, if the legislature decides to reduce school K-12 school funding, these are programs that would either be fully eliminated, such as the Regional Educator Network on the top right of your screen has been recommended for full elimination if the budget for the state is such that the legislature wants to make reductions. And so you see early literacy supports we braid funding from the Student Success Act technical assistance and in our core to build our full complement of our literacy programs. So you can see that the budget proposal from ODE has a very, very big and significant impact on our ESD. So I wanted to call your attention to it. It has nothing to do with the local service plan vote, but I did want to call attention to it to you, and I will be calling attention to it to our school boards as well. Next slide. And that's it. So I'm happy to take any questions or entertain a motion.
Board members, do you have any questions for the superintendent on the local service plan?
I move to approve the 2026 to 27 local service plan as presented.
A second.
It's been moved by, I believe it was Director Russell and seconded by Director Stevens, that we adopt the resolution 26-005 for the 26-27 local service plan as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair, I just, Dan, I think we sometimes just take for granted the 100% support by superintendents, and I just want to say thank you for all your work to create a plan that is actionable and appreciated for all our regional superintendents. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Because that's not always been the case, so that's great.
No. Doug.
Any other comments or discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, board. All right, our last order of business, let me gotta bring up is on the elections of the Oregon Association of ESDs to nominate the 27 officers. Superintendent?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is an opportunity for our ESD board to nominate anybody who would like to serve in the officers role on the officers council of OAESD. In other words, it's an opportunity for one of you to bully another of you by nominating somebody for said term. No, it is a really great organization. We, as the largest ESD in the state, like it's just like OASD is a lot like an ESD for the state. It is essential for our small ESDs to have OAESD. We still need to see ourselves in the OAESD ecosystem, and our new executive director, Sam Breyer, does an amazing job of doing that. And it's a great organization. It's a 3-year commitment. There's a chair-elect, then you're the chair, and then you're the past chair, and there's specific roles that you would play. I do know, just so y'all know, I do know that there are other board members and other ESDs that are interested, and so there's no pressure for this. And I will also say that the 2 board members that are currently serving will be currently serving the next year as chair and past chair are from large ESDs. And so oftentimes they like to have some diversity in terms of size. So I don't think this is the best year to throw your name in the ring, but if you want to, you always can. And so this is your opportunity.
Are there any discussion, motions, silence?
I just appreciate the call out to power sharing with smaller jurisdictions that don't always have as much representation. And so I will not be putting my name forward for that reason. So, and thank you.
Any other discussion? Well, Superintendent, I think you've gotten our answer by we're complying by silence, and we're going by your suggestion, and we appreciate you giving us this wonderful opportunity, and we'll keep it in mind for future years when it comes up. But I think I'm seeing from that the Northwest Regional ESD Board of Directors are taking a pass this year.
Taking a pass. Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, that's our business for the day. Does anybody, board members, have any comments? Closing discussions? Anything for the good of the order? Well, I will just remind all board members that on January 7th, We have our annual legislative summit that makes up the Washington region. And I think you got a save the date a couple of weeks ago. And we'll send out more formal invitations. But so far, we have like 11 legislators that have committed. It'll be at the Hillsborough Northwest Regional ESD office. We'll have dinner and then some presentations and welcome by Dan. And this is coordinated by the Oregon School Board Association Legislative Policy Committee and Board of Directors. And we will be focusing on funding and then also about how to do advocacy work with our legislators. But the main purpose is just for our legislators to get to know who we are, and hopefully when things come up in the legislative session, they will know to reach out to our superintendents and to our board members to get input before things become laws like accountability bills and stuff. So anyway, that's on January 7th. So I hope if your schedule allows that you'll join us at the ESD. And the last remarks is I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season and they get to enjoy time with family and friends and get some time to catch their breath and get over sicknesses and all that sort of thing. But it's a pleasure, it's an honor to serve with all of you, and I just hope I look forward to seeing you in 2026. So with that, we will meet again on January 14th, and that will be virtually again. But with that, we are adjourned for the evening.
Thank you, Chair. Good night, everybody. Happy holidays.
Yep.
Everybody, good night.